identity and place them both in mine. You know you stop.
This week is Module 4, and Natalia Grinovich and Oscar Gonzalez welcome you to Autonomy and Metacognition, and we will try to summarize as much as we can. We begin with a presentation of Professor Ana Maria Terran, in which we hear from her what metacognition and autonomy is, what it's not, and how are they related. And she mentions that autonomy is to be governed by oneself. And she mentions a metaphor of the archer in the video about the autonomy. The archer has a position in which he assumes in life, and then the target is lifelong learning. The motivation is the desire to get there. And she also mentions some other elements in the video, which are self-efficacy, which is how we do well and about being confident. Also self-direction, which is related to internal and external factors. And self-regulation, which are the thoughts and behaviors towards the goal. We need the help of others, and autonomy is that process in which it is not linear, but it's messy, but it's always continuous. She also refers to what metacognition is, which is the thinking about one's thinking, or the cognition of cognition, in which we become aware of our strengths and weaknesses. And it can be taught. It's a skill that can be taught. And it needs lots of higher order thinking skills, cooperation, and risk-taking. And it has to be taught in content specific. This week, we also wanted to open some other spaces for discussion. One of those was by Natalia, that wanted to have as target the metacognition by the title That's So Metacognitive. And also, there was another slot open, which was about research questions and how to develop a strong research question, in which we wanted to share the strengths and the weaknesses that we might have in our research questions and exchange ideas. Professor Ana Maria also commented, and she was very pleased that many of our activities were very interesting, and that they presented clear differences between collaboration and cooperation, and that was certainly something to consider.
This week we shared some activities and insights on the topic of collaborative learning. Vanessa told us about a spelling activity she frequently uses in her class and mentions that it helps her students to learn how to work as a team in order to achieve a common goal. Julie argues that the concept of collaboration is closely connected to Vygotsky's theory of socio-cognitive development. She also mentions such form of cooperative learning as telecollaboration, which becomes very relevant nowadays, especially in a virtual school context. Julie emphasizes that collaborative learning is an essential factor in developing autonomy in learners. An example of cooperation that involves all members of the school community is a project-based learning module aimed at creation of a fairy tales book. Our final product will be auctioned in order to raise funds for a nearby orphanage. In this way, we invite parents to take part in the project development together with students and teachers in order to make a difference in lives of our friends from the orphanage. Giovanni shared with us an interesting team building activity which also helps students to learn more about each other. In Giovanni's point of view, this could be very helpful in public schools context, where classrooms are overcrowded, and it is very important to develop a feeling of communal living. Lorena shared with us an interesting project, the Ultimate Clock, which challenges students to work collaboratively on development of a final product, a clock. They will need to share roles and identify their strengths in order to develop their final product. They will also learn to trust and help each other working as a team. Leonardo proposes his students to develop a new religion. What an interesting challenge, isn't it? More than that, the activity will teach students to negotiate, identify priorities and values of a new religion. Interestingly, at the end of their lesson, the whole group will need to meet a consensus choosing one ultimate religion without teacher's support.
Finally, Magdalena proposes to her students some persuasive posters, which they will have to do in groups. And the topics must be related to an alarming problem nowadays, which is like a war problem right now. And students love competition, she says, and so she finds this activity very engaging for them. And once they know what they can win as a bar of chocolate from Poland, they can't help but work hard to get it. Interesting. Okay, Professor and colleagues, we have reached the end of our presentation. We hope that you have enjoyed it as much as we did. Thank you very much. See you next time.
You shot a high